systems. Now, one thing that I want to tell you before I get started with mapping all of them out is that systems, whenever you interview a coach for a coaching position, you sit them down and you say, okay, what kind of system do you play? And they will always answer, well, it depends on the kind of players I have. And then I build my system around those players. And that, in almost every case, is incorrect. It's the right answer. It's the answer you always need to give if you're ever in that position, but it never works out that way. Every coach has an idea how you should play, and what ends up happening is if the players don't start playing that way, they slowly either get replaced or traded, and then the coach ends up with a bunch of guys that play the way he wants to play. So while there are literally hundreds of different systems, thinking that coaches will tailor them to fit your team is wishful thinking at best. The areas where they will tailor them to individual teams are usually on specialty teams. So if you have a gifted defenseman, they may run the power play through the defenseman and allow him to bring the puck up, wanting him to shoot it. If you have a gifted forward, he might be the guy that comes around the net, picks the puck up, and run it off the half wall with him. So those are the areas that they'll modify a little bit, but almost in every case, throughout the three zones, every coach has an idea how he wants to play, and he's going to play that way come hell or high water. So it's sometimes very easy if you have the ability to adapt multiple systems to see what another team is doing, and where you see it show up the most at the higher levels is in playoffs. Because if a coach can't change what he's doing because the opposition has come up with a new system that counteracts what they're doing, then they end up losing 4 straight, and you go, what the hell happened to Tampa? Right? And so the reality is that when playoffs come around, that's when coaching really starts to step forward a little bit, and sometimes all you have to do is tweak a few different things, and it really throws the other team off. And so it's really important to be able to have a bag full of systems, but at the adult hockey level, the most important thing is to have at least one. And you have to have 100% buy-in. I have never yet been involved with a hockey club where they said, you 4 guys, you play this way, and you just do whatever you want. And I've coached and played with a lot of really talented guys, and they've never, ever said that. And so it's all about everybody having to buy in and play that way. Otherwise, the system just doesn't work. And so what's really difficult sometimes with an adult group, when you're trying to implement systems, if you don't have everybody here, and so you end up running some systems, but only half the group gets it, then it's really difficult. It can be frustrating for the guys that are really trying to bear down and implement them into the club. So, what I thought tonight for the presentation, tonight what I would do is break it into 3 different areas. So, systems that you play when you have the puck in all 3 zones, systems that you play when you don't have the puck in all 3 zones, and then we can talk about power plays, zone to kill, face-off, and if your eyes are really starting to glaze over, then maybe we're done. If not, then we can talk about different situations like 2-on-1s, 1-on-1s, 3-on-2s, and how to play those things. Okay? So, starting in the defensive zone, when we have the puck. Okay? So, we talk about a breakout. So the puck is in our end, and for those of you that have been to some of the practices previously, this will not be anything new to you. But the D picks up the puck, and we have 4 basic breakouts. And we also talked about how important it is to have the same vocabulary. So the first one is going to be called the wheel. Okay? And the wheel means that the defenseman is going to pick the puck up, and he's going to wheel around the net with it. His D partner, he needs to go in front of the net and stop and stay there. Okay? Wingers, the only time it's really important to know who the centerman is and who left wing and right wing is off the face-off. Other than that, the way the game is played today, it doesn't matter who you are. It all matters about what order you cross these lines, either defensively or offensively. So if you're the first forward back, you're playing down low. If you're the last forward back, the second forward back, you're in a different position, and the third forward back is in a different position again. It's nothing to do with whether you're center, left, or right. But for the sake of argument, let's say that we have our winger posted up on the wing here. We have our other winger posted here. And now the centerman is wheeling, so our center iceman, the man in the middle here, is going to mirror the puck. This means he's going to follow whatever direction that puck is going. And as he comes across, it's important for him to be below this winger. Okay? So if this defenseman makes this pass to this winger, he can then start to curl up and be available for a pass himself. If this guy gets in trouble, he can continue to come across and support him. This winger here, they've got two defensemen out here. He's going to do something called slash support. Okay? And what he does, when he sees that the breakout is coming this direction, he's going to go this way and split those two D. And what that does is it makes these two guys back up. Okay? Now the whole key to a breakout is you want all three forwards, if you can, to leave the zone together so that you can attack. But this guy coming on this kind of angle here, for sure this D is going to respect him and he's going to back off. And then this guy will get a little bit nervous because he doesn't want to see this pass coming through here or a chip off the wall. Okay? So it's important that this slash support happens. When this D comes around, he can either hit the winger or he can hit the center ice. Okay? He does not want to make a pass through what we call the house here to the offside winger. Okay? So always keep the puck to the strong side. The strong side means the side the puck is on. Okay? Do we have anything to...
What about when the D carries?
Okay? So if the D carries the puck, he comes around, now you can start going. Okay? And you can cut off and you go, and you're going to continue on the same path. Here's the thing that you want to think about as a defenseman. If you're rushing the puck and you have forwards ahead of you, eventually what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to stop, right? And now they're waiting for you to come through. And then all of a sudden now you have traffic and so you're going to dump it in. Now no one's there to support you because they all had to stop. So the thing you want to do as a defenseman is when you can, if you're coming up, if you're leading the rush, fine, go ahead. But if you can't lead the rush, give it and join. And just come as that fourth forward. Okay? So that was the wheel. Okay?
And either winger, do they literally go to the hash and stop?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we catch ourselves, they're breaking up ice, and they're past the blue line before, as a defenseman, I come around and do a wheel.
Right.
My wingers are half the time on the other blue line. Sometimes they're off sides on the other side of the blue line.
Yeah.
So they need to come and stop.
I just noticed what I was doing wrong too, because I remember for the one practice I went to, if I'm the weak side winger, I'd start doing the slant, but I wouldn't continue on through the D. I would just kind of slow up a little bit once I got to the top of the zone, as opposed to just keep on motoring.
Yeah. The issue is this, is that if you don't come back low, so say they have pressure here, okay, and you're standing here, it makes no sense for this defenseman to give you that puck, because now you're right into coverage, okay? So what it's called saving ice. So when you come low and you get this pass, it gives you an opportunity to be able to actually turn with it and start moving, or to make another play. If you are already leaving the zone, and forwards do it all the time, because there's this idea that I got to get going, and then you're looking for a pass. But all you do when you do that is skate yourself into coverage, okay? And so you have to develop this. So much about hockey sometimes is counterintuitive, okay? You stay back, and you know you want to go there, but if you wait, and then you get the puck and go, you get a much better result than going there now and hoping that the puck comes with you, okay? Did I answer that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, you can't do anything until you have the puck anyway, so.
Yeah. So that first breakout, if we think about the wingers, here, and the centerman, and the D in front, so that first breakout was a wheel. The second breakout is going to be D to D. So the D has the puck here. He vacates the front, and this pass comes D to D. Everybody else does exactly the same thing. Okay? He can either feed the centerman coming through, or he can hit this winger. All right? One thing you always want to think about as a defenseman The only time your partner should ever give you the puck is if you're open. And so if you're open, the first thing you'll always do when you get the puck is take 3 hard steps. Because no one has to make a decision when you stand still. If you stand still, I get to stay with my check, and I see what you're doing, and you're looking, and I just hang on to my check. As soon as you start moving your feet, I have to make a decision. Do I take you, or do I stay with my check? So it's really important, when this pass comes, the first thing you do is start moving your feet, okay? And then look to make a play. Okay? So everything else remains the same. That slash support all happens. Okay? Clear on that one? Okay. Then the third one is the reverse. In the reverse, a lot of times, so here's what it looks like. D is in front, we've got our wingers posted up again. And here's the centerman. He's mirroring the puck, the D is coming around. What you want to do is you want to carry the puck to at least the near side post, okay? Because you want to convince everybody that you're doing the same thing you just did the last 2 times. Everything is flowing this way, because you want everything to keep coming, okay? So you get to here, and then you're going to bank it off the wall behind you. That's when the D leaves the front of the net to pick it up. A lot of times what happens is he leaves early and he's standing right here. And so you're fooling nobody. If anybody's reading the play, they see what's going to happen, right? The other thing is the centerman, he has to sell it, okay? He's got to convince everybody he's going that way. So he can't come like this and then turn off this way. He has to continue to come this way, the reverse happens, then he can reapply this way, okay? Because he's going to convince everybody up here that it's all coming this way. And when you get this puck, he's slash supporting, you should have all kinds of open ice to get going. Okay? Any questions on the reverse? Okay. So then we go to the last one, and that's the quick up. And this is one of the areas, I mean, breakouts, you really need to talk. Okay? If nobody talks, then everybody's got to guess what this guy is going to do with the puck. Okay? So if the puck gets dumped in, wingers are coming back into the zone, centerman's coming back, the D partner is here, he's facing up ice, and he sees that they've gone for a line change, or this side is wide open, he'll yell quick up. That means you can hit your binders here, get your stick out. As soon as you get the puck as a D, you just swing up and make this pass up here quickly. Always on the strong side. Quick up, always on the strong side. Okay? Then you can come over, slash support, and here's the centerman supporting again underneath. Okay? Any questions on that?
Who's the preferred guy to call the play?
Most times, either going to be your goalie or your defense partner. And usually always it's your defense partner. Usually always. Because he's supposed to be looking out for you. Okay? When you turn to go get this puck, you can't see what's happening behind you. You got this pitcher here, and then you turned your back, and in hockey, in a fraction of a second, everything can change. Right? So you can't see that anymore. And you try to teach to take a look, but you take a look and then go back again, it could change again. So you really trust this guy, because he's your eyes. And so he tells you what to do. So he's going to tell you quick up, or he tells you to keep going, or wheel. And then when you get to the wheel, he might yell reverse. But it's really important that you guys talk and that you take care of each other. Because if you don't, then you're just kind of on your own. And that's one of the biggest problems for defensemen is they get to the puck. If they don't know what they're going to do before they get there and there's pressure on them right away, it's really hard to make a play. But if you already know what the play is by the time you get to the puck, then you can make it quickly if you have pressure on you. And the rule of thumb is the quicker you get to the puck, the more options you have. If you turn and you kind of saunter back, you know you're going to turn into pressure right away because they're coming on. Yeah.
Is there a key that the defenseman in the center there, is there like a key that he's looking at to decide which play he's using, or is he kind of going into it, you know, okay, we're going to run a wheel this time? And
The center iceman?
No, the defenseman.
This
The
one?
guy that's calling out which.
The guy that's calling it out, he's reading the play, okay? So he's looking at the ice and he's making the determination. So if they've gone for a line change, that's a perfect time for a quick up, okay? So if he's picked up the puck and he's coming around the net, and there's a forechecker he sees bearing down on him here, that might be the perfect time for a reverse, okay? So he needs to read that and call that one up. The only guy on the ice that can't call a reverse is this guy right here. Everybody else can yell for a reverse, and you can read off that, but if you're the guy with the puck and you reverse it, you're the only guy that's gonna know that's gonna happen, okay? Then it won't work. So everybody else can talk, but mostly you want your D partner to give you direction. And sometimes, as a defenseman, if you're going back for this puck, and you're this D in front, and you look and you don't know what you should call, then you just give them information. So what you say is, you got a man right on you, if there's a guy bearing down on him, or you tell them you got 5 feet, you got 10 feet, you got plenty of time. Because how many times have you seen in a game, the defenseman comes and all of a sudden he just wires it around the boards, and there was no one on him. And the only reason he did that is because he must have thought that somebody was coming right on him. So no, you don't give him any information, then you end up with those kind of plays. And as much as, yeah, go ahead.
Well, I kind of had a question. What do you do if the center D is up high with the forwards? They're also getting back and they're not necessarily covered, but they're not wide open either.
As a defenseman,
Yeah, what does that D person do?
if everybody's up here,
Yeah.
okay. So here's the rule of thumb for a defenseman. You come around the net, you've got open ice, you've got no one available, you keep moving. If you've got people bearing down on you and you've got no one open, in your end of the ice, you're doing one of two things. You're either making tape-to-tape passes or you're clearing it, one or the other. You can't, in your own end, throw a puck to a space. Offensively, you can dump the puck. Here, you can't take the puck and just dump it here, okay? In your own end, you're responsible for that. So when you clear it, it's got to be hard off the glass and out. Because lots of guys will be willing to stop a puck with their shin pads. How many guys want to stop it with their face? And so when you're clearing it, it needs to be a rocket and it needs to be hard off that glass. Otherwise, you're looking to make tape-to-tape passes. And if you make tape-to-tape passes, your breakouts work. If you roll them around the wall, they're a lot harder because this guy has really got to struggle to get that puck off the wall with everybody kind of moving on. Okay? Okay, any questions on those breakouts? Because I'm going to move to the neutral zone if we're all good.
Congrats for getting the power bill.
Maybe that was some the divine intervention saying. Okay, in the neutral zone. First and foremost, when you have the puck, the thing you want to be aware of is this. You never want to turn the puck over on this line or on this line. Okay? And again, it's counterintuitive. In one area, when you're attacking this way, they did a study at the World Championships one year, and they found that if the puck got turned over here at the offensive blue line, it led to more goals scored against than turning the puck over on any other part of the ice. So you're thinking, well, if I turn the puck over here, or if I turn the puck over on my own blue line, that would be a much worse situation because we're all caught deep or everybody's gone and I'm here. It doesn't work that way. Because these lines, when you're attacking, the one thing you always want to remember is that blue line is a gas pedal, not a brake pedal. Okay? So you're flying. You're going as hard as you can, and now all of a sudden this guy tries to do a toe drag, and you think the puck gets taken off him. As long as they transition the puck, either diagonally or forward, they give you a 3-second advantage, which carries from zone to zone. And so they will automatically have an odd man rush because the guy that got toe dragged, that tried to toe drag is not going to be there, and the other two guys are flying as hard as they can. So this is a real critical area for turnovers. This area here, for obvious reasons, is also a critical area. Right here, in your own end, you match that up with this line. When that puck comes to you and you're a winger or a player on this in this area, it's got to be out 100% because your other two forwards are assuming it's going to go. So the same thing happens there in these zones, okay? Because they're flying out of the zone and you turn it over, it ends up being an odd man rush. but they don't have as much time. They've saved ice here, they haven't saved ice here, okay? So, critical step number one in the neutral zone, when you have the puck, you do not turn it over on either one of those lines, okay? Now, when you come through in the neutral zone, if you can attack while hanging on to the puck, you want to hang on to possession. But the first thing you're trying to do is make sure that you gain the red line, okay? And so you'll hear somebody yell, gain the red. And that means the primary thing you want to do is, as quick as you can, you want to get on the offensive side of that red line. Because then, if you get in trouble, you can dump it and it's not icing, okay? So that's critical. Get on the offensive side of the red as quick as you can. So what's really frustrating for a coach is you'll see a player, and he'll be a winger here, he'll get a pass, and pressure's coming, and so what he decides is he's just going to throw it away, and he either throws it on this side of the red line or throws it into the middle, instead of taking 2 steps and then get the red line and dump it, because he's going to get hit. And he doesn't want to get hit. But if you gain the red and you dump it, then you've done your job. If you don't, then you've either turned the puck over or you've created an icing. Okay? So the first thing you want to do is gain the red. Then, once you get in past the red line, what you want to read now is, do you have an odd man situation? So do I have a 3-on-2? Do I have a 2-on-1? If I don't have either one of those, I have to make sure that I don't turn this puck over here. So the most logical thing to do is to dump the puck in. And the way you dump the puck is important. You want to keep the puck away from the goaltender, okay? So you don't want to dump it in and wrap it around so that the goalie can set it up for his D or get out and grab it and make a play out with it. So there's 3 different ways to dump the puck, okay? The first way is when you come across this line, if you have another forward with you, you're going to do what's called a cross-ice dump. And you're looking to hit it in that sweet spot in the corner, so when it hits, it comes bouncing back into this area here. And this guy can skate on and perhaps have an opportunity if he can beat that D on this side. So that's the first kind of cross-ice dump. The second one is a hard around. So now you just gun it as hard as you can, big slap shot, and you want to get it by that goal. It needs to come around the other side so this guy again can have an opportunity to gain possession. And then the third one is what we call a soft dump. Okay? That is, you're coming down this side and you're just going to lay it in soft right here. And what that does is it gives you an opportunity to beat the defenseman back there, but if you can't beat him, then you're right on him. And he doesn't like trying to pick that puck up, going as fast as he can, try to pick it off the wall with his back to you with your bearing down on it, okay? At the higher levels, he's going to get tattooed. But at your level, he's got nowhere to go with it. So if you can lay it in soft into one of those corners, you have an opportunity to get it back, okay? So when you have the puck in the offensive zone, in the neutral zone, you want to make sure you don't turn it over. If you have an odd man rush, you can go ahead and run your 2-on-1, your 3-on-2, whatever you have. But if you don't, you're better off to get it deep, make those defensemen have to turn, which is harder than you going forward. And if you can get to it first, you're going to have an opportunity to make a play to the net. The mentality you want to always have is that you're dumping it to get it back. Okay? Too many guys think that if I dump it, then I'm just giving it to them. And that's not the correct way anymore. Because since they took out all the hooking and holding, you're crazy to try to beat a guy one-on-one. You're better off to chip it by him and go get it, because he can't hold you up anymore. Years ago, you came up to a defenseman, you chipped it by, and you just put the hook into it, and he held you up, and there was no way you were getting that puck. And so it was actually giving it to the opposition. Now, it's a critical part of the game, and that's why it's so important to keep it away from the goaltender, because anytime you give it to the goaltender, they're going to get possession. If you keep it away from them, you've got the better opportunity to maintain possession in the offensive zone. Okay? All right. So now,
I have a question.
yeah.
What do you want us to do? I feel like in a lot of our games, the second forward or whatever is always going towards the net, as opposed to on the far side. And if you wrap it around, they're not going to get there and it's just going to go out. Is there like something better that you can do if you're going to get stopped kind of towards the top of the circle?
Yeah. So if you're carrying the puck in, and what you're saying is that there's no one with you, or you got your other partner is
The other person
Step two is crashing the net.
Yeah,
What you're saying.
basically
Right in
crashing
the
the
middle.
net.
Uh-huh.
And so say like second forwards come down here, you get kind of caught up here by their defense. Like,
Yeah,
what do you do to like move it around? I guess.
okay, so,
And the third person's still like trying to get in. So
so now we enter the offensive zone, okay? So now, this area right here, I just got back today from an NHL alumni conference where they were presenting a bunch of statistics. And so they expanded this to this area right in here. And that's what they were calling the house right in here. Now it's 93% of all goals scored were scored in that area, okay? Goalies are so good now, they're so big, and if they play their position, it's almost impossible to beat them low. Because they go down in the butterfly, take away the bottom half of the net. And so they're big, and so they give you 2 inches over this shoulder, and 2 inches over that shoulder. You've got pressure coming at you, and they say, well, if you can hit that spot, you can have it. So most of the goals are scored either off a rebound or a quick pass going laterally one way or the other, but all in this area, okay? So that should give you a little clue as to what you want to do. So if you've got this guy crashing the net and you're here, you absolutely want to get this puck on net. And where you get into trouble a little bit is you feel like you have to just drill it. But more important than that is just where you place it, okay? So if you can put it off of, it's called a shot for opportunity. And so if you can put it off his pads, okay, there's a chance of you beating him from out here, unless you've got all day and you've got a rocket for a shot and you can pick that little spot. It's not gonna happen generally. But if you've got somebody crashing the net and you can lay it in there, sometimes all it has to be is a muffin. Just throw it there, and the goalie stops it and lays down, and that guy's in there hacking and chewing. You got an opportunity to do that. Anytime you're in this zone and you've got guys going to the net, you want to get the puck to the net. That's what you want to do. Now, if you've got a D-man coming on you and you can't make that puck go to the net, so then you go back to, I want to throw a soft dump in here. This guy now can see that the puck has been dumped, and then he can break off his route here and go get the puck. Now you drive the net, okay? Now we're set up for something called cycling, okay? So now here's how it works. When you get this puck, you're the forward, and you've got their D chasing you, okay? You want to pull that puck up the wall, okay? So now, what you're looking for is this. If you can create separation between you and him, then you're gonna come through here and get your shot on net. If you can't create separation, then you're gonna cycle it back, okay? Your other forward is in front here, okay? He's looking for you to shoot so he can hack and shoot. If it doesn't happen, you cycle it, he goes and picks it up, and you're in that position. And then he's gonna try and do the same thing, okay? But what you always wanna do is you wanna make a decision in this area right here, because you're gonna find there's a little seam between their high forward and their D-man. And if he can't stay with you, that's when you can come through there. If he does, then you're gonna cycle back and head to the net. Just maintain possession until you can break him down, okay? Now, there's one other thing you can do here, and that's called the high roller, okay? I need a Zamboni.
I know. Maybe invest in a real eraser.
Okay, I'm gonna flood it in a minute.
Okay.
Okay, so you're the forward, you've got the puck, and you're getting chased. Okay, you start to come up the wall. What happens is your D-man here sees what's happening, and he's gonna call the high roller, okay? Which means now you're coming up, you're coming this way around here like this, and he's gonna slide down this way, okay? And then you're just gonna drop the puck to him, he picks it, the D is right on you, so he's gonna stay with you, now he can pick it up and he can head this way. And that's called the high roller, okay? So you're either gonna cycle it, or you're gonna get high roller. If you're coming into this offensive end and you don't have an odd man rush, you're gonna dump, you get it back and run the cycle or a high roller. Or if you do have possession, You want guys crashing the net, and you wanna get the puck there as quick as you can, okay?
So is that high rolling wing gonna now play D?
This guy will swing around here, he's now the high forward,
Yeah.
okay? So now he sees that his D partner's in there, yes, now he backs off and assumes that position, okay? And what you're looking for is you're just looking for steps, okay? Just enough room for somebody to get open to get a shot away. And if you read that that D is coming and he's gonna follow you all the way and you can pull him into the middle and this D reads that and he can yell for the high roller, he comes down, he's got 2 steps, he can fire it, and now we've got guys there. And again, we talked, it doesn't matter how hard it is, as long as you just get it there. Okay? So, with the puck, in our own end, neutral zone, and attack. Any questions on any of that? Okay. So, now we go back into the defensive zone when we don't have the puck. Okay? So, puck's down here, and their forward has it down low. Okay? So the first thing that's gonna happen is one of our defensemen is gonna come over to play. Okay? And that is our first layer of defense. Okay? So you're always gonna defend between the player and your net. You don't wanna be on this side here, which gives him an opportunity to go to the net. You're always between the net zone. Okay? The first forward that comes back into the zone is gonna be the low forward. Okay? So he's gonna come down and he's gonna help this D. Okay? So he's here. So he's F1. And that is our second layer of defense. We also have this imaginary box that we have in our own end. And we want our other defenseman here. And so the rule for the defenseman in front is this. When you're in front, you first start with a line off the back post. You start here, and the puck is over there. If you're here and there's no one in this area, it makes no sense to cover nothing, so then you can come to the near side post. Okay? If you get to the near side post and there's no one here, and let's say that they have another forward here and a forward here, you can come all the way over to the edge of the box. Okay? You can be right in here, okay, as a defenseman. And now you're our third layer of defense. Okay? So what you're doing is this forward is backing up this D. If he gets beat, then he's got to beat this guy. If he beats 2 of those guys, he's still got to beat you. Okay? The second forward that comes into the zone comes here. So this is F2. Their defenseman is your guy, but you want to be here because just like we talked about earlier, when you cycle the puck and you're looking for that seam, you don't want to get seen. Okay? So if you see that he gets a step on that D, and now he starts to swing through here, you got to take it. Okay? But this is your guy. You can't get sucked down into this pile here, and they throw it up, and now this guy has a home free opportunity. Okay? So you need to stay there. F3, the third forward into the zone, you come here. Okay? And now you're another layer of defense. So if heaven forbid they beat our D, they beat our forward, they beat our other D, now they got to beat another forward. Okay? So that's 4 layers before they get to our goaltender. Okay? So you can see that you should be fairly well insulated here. Now, the rule for this defenseman is if the puck moves over to this side, if you have a 50-50 or better opportunity to get to the puck first, you can go. If you don't, if this guy is not here, but he's over here, you can come over, all the way over to the edge of this box, but you can't leave that box until your D partner is in. And so how will he know when that D partner is in?
Communication skill.
Exactly. So again, D partners taking care of each other. He's got to tell him to go. Then he can now go. The forward that was down low, so we have our first layer here. The forward that was down low, he comes across. So now we have our second layer. Okay. The forward that was high here comes down into the slot area, and this forward expands out to this area, and the D is in front in the box. Does that make sense? Oh, thank you. Perfect. Wow. It's a fancy one. We all clear on this chicken scratch?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so there's one other situation, and that's called D-zone coverage. There's one other situation that'll happen in your own end, and that's when they have the puck behind the net. When that happens, the D get off the post on either side. The low forward, F1, comes in front, and the other two forwards, F2 and F3, come inside the hash marks into this area here. What we don't want is him to be able to step out and make a play to somebody here, because our goaltender is gonna be here looking back behind him. And if that pass comes out, he won't have enough time to react, okay? So we're gonna cover all this off. So what we will do is we'll give up the outside. And so if this guy decides he's gonna step out and make a pass to this guy here, fine. Then now we can readjust and get back into our D-zone coverage. But we don't wanna give up anything here. Anybody tell me what we're looking for when we look at this guy? Is there any kind of information that we should be trying to find out about him with the puck?
Besides his forehand?
That's, yeah.
Exactly. So if he's a left-handed shot, if I am gonna force him, then I'm gonna force him out onto his backhand side. Okay, I don't want him to be able to make his best pass. I'm gonna force him, if I do force him, I always force him onto his backhand. Okay, so you need to determine what hand he is and then make that call. Now, there's one other little rule that I wanna give you. And you've seen this happen in a game. So you're a defenseman, you have your other defenseman in front, and now this guy gets a step on you, and he starts going this way. Now you're the defenseman, you're coming, and you're trying to decide, do I continue behind the net, or do I come to the front of the net and let my partner take him on the other side? And the rule for that is called the half shaft rule. And that means that as this guy is going, if I can get a half of my shaft or more on him, then I'm gonna continue with him. If I get anything less than that, I'm gonna yell switch, and I'll chase him to here, I'll slide up, and then he slides down. Make sense? Okay, so half shaft rule. Okay. So now, any questions on D-zone coverage?
So the most common place that I'm seeing us giving up goals is the puck comes up here, the defenseman has it, and I have one or more, usually at least two wingers, parking here that the defensemen aren't moving.
Right.
So what does the zone look like when the puck is there?
Okay. So, let's say we were in our D-zone coverage over here and went back to the point and went D to D.
Yeah.
So this guy has a wide open shot. This forward here, the low forward in the slot area, his job is to immediately get in the shooting lane and come out at him, okay? His job is to block that shot, okay? If it gets through, it means one of two things. Either this guy was too talented, or this guy didn't have enough courage, okay? So he's got to get in the shooting lane and he's got to go through him, okay? So if the puck comes through now, what you see is they'll have forwards in front of the net because they know 93% of the goals are scored there as well. So as a defenseman, you have two options, okay? You either need to get into one of these guys and move him out so he can't stand there. But you gotta be careful now because you can't tie him up, otherwise you get interference, but you can push him. And you wanna get him out of there. But you don't wanna stand right beside him because now all you're doing is creating a double screen. And so what you have to do now is something called front the puck, okay? So they've got these two guys here, and you're a defenseman, and you see the shot is coming, you now have to get in front of him. And now you're looking to get the block so that he can't get a stick or something on it, okay? You don't want it to go through you, but if it does, then you gotta turn quickly and get him out. But it's called fronting the puck. So you'll see a lot of times maybe a little undersized defenseman in front of a big guy and you can't control him or move him. The worst thing you can do is lean against him trying to push him and create that double screen. But what he needs to do is get from there and get out in front, and so that the puck hits him before it gets to this guy who can deflect. Okay? And you also
So
want
basically you go from screening your goalie to screening the other defenseman, right? You're just running a screen on the,
you're screening
the
that
defense.
forward.
Forward,
or that forward, yeah.
Yeah, but you don't want to do it too far out. Okay? If he's out here, you can still be behind him and control him. just don't stand next to him, because that just doubles up the screen, okay? And you don't want him to be able to get his stick on it, so what you wanna do, if you're in that position, you wanna make sure that you have his stick up off the ice, okay? One thing we always used to say, you can always tell a scared hockey player, is when he goes to the front of the net as a forward, he's standing there with a stick like this, because he's worried about who's coming to get him more than he's worried about getting a stick on the puck. So if you're a forward, what you want to do is have your stick down so that you can deflect anything down low and then lift to get high. If you're here, by the time it goes from here to here, that puck could already be by you. Okay? Any questions on that? Good? Okay. So now the neutral zone. And this will take you a little more time to implement, but if you can do it, you'd be amazed at your results. Because we talked about, again, how pucks getting turned over on those offensive lines lead to goals. So here's how it looks. Let's say that they have the puck. There's our 2D. They've got a winger. It's coming up ice. They've got a centerman, and they got another winger. Okay, how we play this. Okay, here's the puck. So you're going to have F1. He's going, and he wants to pressure on an angle. Okay, either way, but mostly you want to take away the D to D pass. Okay, the other, so let's call this guy F1. F2, you're going to stand about a stick length and a half from the boards on the offensive side of the red line, and you're not worried about this winger. You're just standing there. F3, you need to be in front of their man in the middle. Okay? So now, if this guy comes by, we have a D who picks him up, and our other D is here, and this is his guy, if they make that play to him. What's going to happen is if he does his job properly, he'll force this guy up here. And what we're doing is we're forcing him into essentially a bit of a trap. Okay? Because now, as long as you're on this side of the red line, he's got to make a decision. Do I think I can beat you with this guy angling you to the wall, or am I going to dump it? And if he dumps it, then it's a risk of icing. Okay? As long as this guy stays with him. Okay? So what will happen generally is this guy will start to force him around, and this D will go back to his partner. Okay? He'll reverse it. Right? So now, what happens when that occurs, this forward that was at the center needs to get over here. So F3 now assumes that position. F2 leaves here and gets in front of this guy. And F1 has to reapply pressure. And so we end up having it. So you have to be quick and move back and forth, but as long as you do that, there's enough time when that thing gets reversed that you'll be able to cover it off every time. And if you can do that, and somebody doesn't have a brain cramp and forget where they're supposed to go, it'll be very difficult for them to get anything into your zone. Okay? If they do, somehow, by a miracle, make this pass over to this winger here, that's this guy's. Okay, that deep. Okay? Have we got that one? Any questions? Nope? Okay. All right. Now we get to the offensive zone, and we don't have the puck. We're dumping it in, right? So we dump the puck in, and now we got to get it back. So, again, F1, first guy crossing the line, he's hard on the puck, hard as he can right at the puck here. Okay, if he can get to the puck first, he wants the puck. If he can't, he's got to check the guy that is on the puck. F2, the second guy who comes into the zone, has to come hard down the strong side wing, and he's continuing right to the puck, okay? Because if he takes the puck or moves him or separates him from the puck, you've got to be the guy that picks it up, okay? So that's F2. F3, you're coming hard, but you're coming in line with the dots down here, okay? So there's F3. And what you're doing is if this guy gets the puck and he goes D to D, if he gets full possession and is facing you as a forward, then what you're going to do is you're just going to pick up a wing, and the 2D will start back, and these two guys now have to back check. But if the pass comes to him along the wall or in his feet, we call that being in the soup. Okay? If this guy's in the soup, you're going, hard as you can, right on him now. F1 continues across this way, and F2 now comes up and is the high guy. Okay? So we always have two guys down low, hard on the puck, and one guy high. If anytime he's in the soup, you can go if he's got full possession. Makes no sense for you to dive down, he just makes a simple play to a winger and they're out of the zone. Okay? Now, let's say that we have a high forward here, and this puck comes around to this D, and he's somehow caught here, and so he throws it up the wall. As long as we have this forward high, this D can pinch. And your read as a defenseman is whether I have a high forward or not. If I don't have a high forward, I can't go. I just gotta give up the line and back up. And if I have a high forward, I can go. And there's a rule for you. Only one of two things can get by you. Either the man or the puck, but not both of them, okay? So if the puck gets by you, you gotta stop the man. If the man gets by you, the puck's gotta stop, okay? Any questions
How
on
do you
that?
do that in a non-checking league?
I think by angling, okay? So if you're coming down to pinch, you're gonna be pinching while this puck is coming. You're right on him, there should be no way that he skates through you, right? I'm assuming that you can be right there with him and he turns into you.
Yeah, there's no body checking, but body checking is just one form of check.
Sure.
But I hear what you're saying, you can't take him and pin him up on the wall. But what I'm suggesting to you is this, is that when you go down, and he and I are together on the wall, and the puck goes by, I've stopped him, now I turn, I gotta let him go, but I'm gonna be back before he is. Make sense?
Yep.
Any questions on, any of that? Are we good, or we need to take a break?
No, I think we're good, you know, the couple of chuckles on the body checking, but I mean, you can rub out, I mean, the key is, are you making a clear play for the puck, right?
Right.
You know, and if you are, and especially if you're making contact with the puck before you're making contact with the player, you know, the contact's legal.
Okay.
Occasionally it'll get called wrong. More than a case, you know, I've seen legal contact and it was dramatic, and so the ref lost their judgment and called it a body check.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Yeah, the worst scenario I have as a defenseman is I'm hanging out here, the puck and the forward get the puck here, and they're a little bit off the wall, so like right on here, and then it's the decision. And you're saying that only this forward, if this guy's high, I can pinch down. How far is too far down?
You can go.
Anywhere?
Yeah, because now, this forward, this high forward, with a D, either one of these Ds go down, he assumes your position. You've assumed his, he's assuming yours. So now you're in there. Now, the thing you always want to remember about being a defenseman,
Yeah.
okay, is that when you dive down, you're like a needle, okay? You're in and you're out. You can go as far down as you want, but you can't hang around. Okay? No one likes a needle in there digging around, right? It's in and then it's got to get out quick. And that's what you have to have in your head as a defenseman. You don't want a forward back here, because those guys are really irresponsible. I mean, those guys, a forward always wants to go forward. So even if he's back here, chances are if that puck comes, he's going. Okay, so you want to get back. So you go in, you can be down anywhere you want in here, but once you have finished impacting the play, you can't come stand in front. What you got to be thinking about is hurrying up and get back to let this forward get back into the play.
Okay.
Okay?
I don't think we'll ever have a high forward. I mean, that's been my experience. Is all of my forwards are down past the red line. But
And, you know, quite frankly, that happens a lot because guys want to get the puck, right? They want to chase it. But the reality is, if someone is successful and gets the puck and he turns, he's got no one to give it to if there's no one in front. So if you want to be the guy that scores goals, you want to be right in this area here. Right? You want to be the guy crashing the net. You want to be the guy in front looking for it. The other problem sometimes is true too. We got three guys up high because there's a hairy gorilla down here and no one wants to get near him. I got to tell you, my first year in the National League, one of my defense partners was a guy named Pierre Bouchard. And Pierre Bouchard was a big, strong, tough guy back in the day. And wasn't a great skater, wasn't a great puck handler. Every time I went back to get the puck, I'm getting run up against the glass. And every time Pierre goes back and gets the puck, he gets to turn, take a look, and make a pass, and I'm thinking, what is going on here? Well, I figured it out. They're all scared to death of him. They're not gonna come within 10 feet of this guy. So let Pierre have the puck, let him make his play, he's not gonna hurt us, and give him all kinds of room, but this other guy, run him, right? And so that's, you know, you can have a problem both ways. Sometimes you can have everybody down low, and sometimes you can have everybody up high waiting for a pass because no one wants to go get it. Okay? All right, let's move on to the power play. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to think about the power play in two basic steps. Your first step is your breakout and entry, and then your second step is your setup. Okay? I'm going to show you a real basic breakout for the power play. Okay? So the way it would work is the D has the puck behind the net, and you stop. Okay? Penalty killers should never chase you behind the net when they're shorthanded. If someone chases you behind the net, you should just take off and go, because now you got a 5-on-3 instead of a 5-on-4, okay? So that's number one. So stop behind the net. So your D partner will be in front, and here comes first forward back. And let's say it's the center iceman. We'll just say the center iceman needs to be this guy. He's going to come down and he's going to swing into the corner this way. He needs to come below the goal line. This D, as soon as he passes him, will swing this way. The other two forwards here will swing up this way, and now you will come up the middle with speed. Okay? Now, here's what happens. We get in here, and so we've got, let's say, D1 has the puck, and we've got D2 and F2 over here, and we've got F1 and F2 here. We're all coming up the ice. When we get to the red line, okay, here's F2, and here's D2. F2, when he hits the red line, is doing this. D2 is doing this. F2, when he hits the red line, he's doing this. F1, he's doing this. You're coming up here. Now, picture being a defenseman here. What you're doing now is forcing him to make a decision. Okay? Do I take the guy that's going to the middle, or do I stay with the guy wide? If he takes the guy going to the middle, you're making the pass to the guy wide, and he's in. If he doesn't take the guy to the middle, you're making that pass to the guy in the middle, and he's in. Okay? So you're creating an opportunity for him to have to make a choice of who he's going to take. Okay? Now, obviously they have forwards too that are coming at you. So if one of their forwards comes and pressures you, you can move it to either side right away, one of the low guys. So say he moves it over here, what happens is now you assume this position, and you're still going to have it at least on one side. Okay, but now they've only got 3 guys back instead of 4. Okay? So what the whole idea is that the timing of this needs to take place at the red line. So you're behind each other, and now all of a sudden one guy cuts to the middle and the other guy stays along the wall, and you're the defenseman. In that split second, you've got to make a choice. The beauty of being on the power play is you know what you're doing, supposedly, and the defense doesn't. Okay? So that moment of hesitation is all you're looking for, is to get a step, and if you make the pass tape, one of those 2 guys is in home free. Okay? If you're coming up and there's no one to give it to, as soon as you get to that red line, you're dumping it in. Okay? And when you dump the puck in, again, you're doing it either a soft dump or a hard round. When you're on the power play, you usually don't want to do a cross-angle dump. Okay? Because their D will generally be backing off and will get it first because it's coming off the wall to them. Okay? So, rule of thumb, when you're on the power play, when you put the puck in the offensive zone, anytime the puck's in the offensive zone, you have all 3 forwards on the puck. Okay? So you're gonna have F1, F2, and F3, all fighting for that puck. Makes no sense for two guys to be there in F3 waiting, hoping that they get that. Okay, you need possession of the puck. So all three of you guys will attack whoever has the puck, hoping to get it. Now, if they send more guys in there, and you have this battle going on, there's something called rim out of pressure, okay? As soon as you see this situation happen, you're a defenseman, one defenseman needs to go here, and the other defenseman needs to go here. Because your forwards now understand that when they get this puck, their back is to you, right? They're on the wall, they're fighting. As soon as they get possession, they now know 100% in their mind that they can fire the puck as hard as they can around that rim wall, and you're gonna be there. Because all their other guys are gonna be shrunk down here, okay? Or you can rim it out the strong side, okay? So either way, you can fire it, and you're gonna have a defenseman there. Now, when you get possession of the puck, now you can go into one of your setups. And so I'm gonna describe two different setups for you. One's called the overload, and the other one is called the umbrella, okay? Any questions on this so far? Okay, so the overload. Okay, so we're gonna have F1, and usually F1, we want him to be one of our better puck handlers, okay, because we want to run it off what we call the half wall, okay? So we'll have a D, strong side D, and the other D will be in line in the middle, okay? We have F2, their skates need to be in front of the goal line. And then F3, you're going to be in front of the net, okay? So now, if you can, you'd like this forward here to be a right-handed shot, okay? And this forward to be a left-handed shot. Because you're gonna pick, usually you're gonna pick one side that you're gonna run the power play off of, okay? Sometimes it rotates over, but you get it back to the point, you move it across, and you try to run it off the same side every time, okay? And so if you can have a right-handed shot here, if you make this play down to him, he can attack the net on his forehand. If you make the play across to him, he's got a forehand shot to the net. It's all about putting guys on their strong forehands, okay? Now, they're gonna have a box, okay, as defenders. Trying to tie up the guy in front, and they have this box situation where they're trying to be passive and keep the puck to the outside. The thing that you're looking for here is whether the box is shrunk or the box is stretched. If these two guys are low, which would be below the tops of the circles, the box is shrunk. So you know that your play is gonna be out to the point, okay? And at the point, you're either gonna get a shot or you're gonna go D to D. As soon as you see that puck come out to the point, this guy needs to slide to the front of the net. If it comes to the point and it goes back, you need to get back in position, okay? If these two forwards are stretched, meaning they're up above the top of the circle, you know that your play is going to be down low. And the way you do that is you've got to start moving, okay? Just like a defenseman, when you stand still, no one needs to react. Same if you're on the half wall. That's perfect for me. If you score from standing from there, not my fault. But you start skating and I don't come to you, if I don't come, you just keep coming and put it in the net. If I do come, now you're making this play down low, and now you can 2-on-1 this defenseman here. You can either drive the net, and again, as soon as it hits your stick, you start moving. This forward can pop back, and you can hit him here for a one-timer, because he's again on his forehand side. Or you can just continue, if the D comes with him, you just continue and jam it at the net. Okay? Any questions on that?
Does it change at all if they're doing a diamond instead of a box?
Okay, the times that you would do a diamond, okay, I would never recommend doing a diamond against an overload, but you would do a diamond against a umbrella. Okay, so I'll draw you up an umbrella. So the umbrella, the way we want to set up an umbrella is we have one D here, and we'll have another D that is off the dot. What happens a lot of times in these situations is the forward and the D that are up high tend to get too wide, okay? Because when you don't have the greatest one-timer, a lot of times guys are trying to set up for a one-time shot. You need more time. And you know in hockey, time equals space. So the further I get away from you, the more time I get to get my shot off, right? And so you'll find these guys drift. Well, yeah, it's a shot on net, but it's not the same as having a shot on net from here, right? When you're out in this area here. So you want to try to, as much as you can, don't fade outside those dots. And then we have two forwards in front of the net, okay? So let's say that they get into the diamond, okay? So they're here, and here, right? What they're worried about in the diamond situation is they don't want to get seen, okay? So let me show you what it would look like without the diamond, and then I'll show you how the diamond prevents that and how you attack the diamond. So they're in their box, okay? So we move the puck here. One of these two forwards has got to come, okay? You've got to get in the shooting room. We talked about when the puck's in your own end, you want that forward to block. So say this guy comes to play him, then we're moving it here for the shot, right? Same thing the other way. If it comes here, we're moving it there for the shot. Or if you move it to me, he comes, and I move it back, and now this seam opens up here, okay? And I'm making the goalie move from left to right, which opens up opportunity, okay? That's what you're trying to do on the umbrella, and you're trying to get the puck to the net because we got two forwards in front. When they move to a diamond, okay? So we have a forward, we have our D, and we have another D, and they're in the diamond, okay? When they have the diamond, they're determining, we're taking away the middle. We're not letting you have the shot from there. So what you have to do is you'll just pop out, and if we can make this play, we've got an instant 2-on-1 down low, okay? You have to, when you're shorthanded, you're gonna give up something. So you've determined, maybe it's a situation that we've talked about earlier where they have a very gifted defenseman, or a forward that plays one of these high positions, and we've just determined we're not gonna give them that opportunity. Okay, we're not gonna let this guy shoot. And so we're gonna take it away with playing a diamond, but we're gonna give up down low. And maybe these two forwards down here aren't the most courageous guys, and so maybe they won't go right in front of the net, and that'll give me enough time for my offside D to get back, to help. But that's always the concern. When you play the diamond, if they've got two big guys down low that can play a 2-on-1 really well, then you're gonna give up an opportunity to the net if that pass gets through. What you are eliminating is this big shot from up top. So if one of these two guys was Ovechkin, I'd probably play the diamond, because I don't want him having that one time, if at all possible, right? So it's all about the kind of personnel that you're facing, but there's always gonna be an opportunity in any 5-on-4 situation as long as you execute, okay? So we clear on the setups? Okay. So, more than anything else, there's a couple things you always have to remember when you're on the power play. Guys that are killing penalties are gonna be working really hard because they're shorthanded. Guys that get on the power play, and because you're a bit stationary, your head starts to tell you that you can slow down a little bit. But you have to outwork the penalty killers. And so you have to be really hard on pucks, you gotta move quick, and you have to make take-to-take passes. If you don't do those two things, then you get very little on the power play. Because those guys are working hard because they're desperate. And if you slow down because they're desperate, and you don't work as hard as they do, then the puck's always gonna get cleared and you're always gonna lose those one-on-one battles. Okay? So, penalty kill. Let's say that they're running the same thing we are, okay? So they swing, and he's coming up the middle. Our D are backing off, and our forwards are gonna come in, and they're always gonna swing in front of their forwards, okay? So our two forwards are coming back, and they're skating backwards here like this, okay? So we're giving up the middle, but eventually, as he gets into the neutral zone, and we're backed off, one of our forwards will now come and pressure, okay? And by coming and pressuring from one side, we're forcing them to go to the other. And so we'll know what side that play is gonna go to so that we can adjust on it, okay? So coming back, you come in, the key to this whole thing is swinging in front of their swing guys, okay? And then backing off into the neutral zone and then applying. All you wanna do when you're forechecking on the penalty kill, I mean, if you could take the puck away and go score, that'd be great. But chances are, a win for you is getting them to dump it rather than being able to come in with possession, okay? Because when they dump it, now you have a chance at least to get it and fire it back down. You're in a battle situation, okay? So, now, they're in our end, and we are in the box now, okay? And they're playing the overload on us, okay? So I'm gonna change us to the D, D, F1, and F2. And this is their overload here. Okay? First and foremost, we don't want to get shrunk, and we don't want to get stretched. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to try to influence things with our stick. Okay? What I don't want is when the puck comes to the point, I don't want to allow them to go D to D. Okay? So what I will do is with my stick, I will come out and I will try to push him to the wall, okay? To make him have to go back down to where he came from. So if this pass comes up here, I want to get out and I want to get it with my stick here so that he can't go D to D where he can't have the middle. If he starts sliding down, then I'm just going to continue to pressure over there to him until he lays the puck back into this half wall position, and then I get back into my box. If they make the play down low, again, I'm not going to chase, but I'm going to hold here because I have to play this 2-on-1 coming to the net. As long as he stays outside, I don't have to go to him. Okay? But if he starts moving to the net, then I absolutely have to take him. And my D partner is vulnerable now because he either has to play this pass coming to this guy off the wall, or he gives up this guy and comes and leaves an opportunity there. But this offside winger has to again slide down to help. Make sense? Okay. Now I'm going to show you one technique that's used on penalty kill, and maybe you guys already know about it, but it's called three-point pressure. Okay? And three-point pressure is this. We're lined up, we got D and D, forward and forward, and they're here like this. And we know that they run an overload. Then they like to pass it to the point, back down, or down low, and then back to the half wall. So we've got a predetermined number in our head. We say, second pass that comes to this guy on the half wall, we're running three-point pressure. And what that means is this. Let's say he makes the pass up, it comes back, he makes the pass back down, it comes here. Now, right now, all three guys. This guy here is going hard here. This D is going hard here, and this D is going hard here. This forward slides down here. So now we've taken away all three of his options all at once. The only one he has left is to try to put it here. And he's not thinking about doing that because he's just made two passes down low, trying to open up something off the side. That's not ever part of the play. But if one of these three guys doesn't go at the same time, then you're vulnerable. But if you run the three-point pressure, you all understand that when that second pass comes, or if it's the first pass or the third pass, whatever it is, and all three guys leave at the same time, they've got nowhere to go with the puck. And then you can cause a turnover and get it up. Okay? So that's called three-point pressure. Any questions? Okay? Are we good?
So far,
Okay.
On theory.
see it on the ice next game, right?
Yeah.
All of it.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
When you're on the penalty kill and you like have possession of the puck, and you're like able to know, like everyone from the other team like has come up to you, you just keep beating them. Is it worth it just to hang on to it to kill the penalty, or to try to make?
It's a high-risk play.
Uh-huh.
Depends on where you are on the ice.
There's
If you're, if you're in their zone, no problem, hang on to it, okay? If you're in your own zone, it's not worth the risk, okay? And here's the thing, again, when you are killing a penalty and you have the puck, you always are trying to clear it off the glass and out. If that is taken away, the other thing is something we call over the dots, okay? So if you're on this side of the ice, you can clear it, try to clear it high over this dot, okay? So what it looks like is, sometimes their D-man will be right over here on the wall, and you can turn and fire it over this dot. You don't want to fire it over here, because if that gets picked off, that's called serving up a pizza. Okay? And so those are terrible. But if you can go over the dot, usually that's going to be open, because the D is usually going to be right on the wall, and if he's not, he's going to be hanging around the middle somewhere. Okay? So over the dot or off the glass. Okay, so face-offs. Okay? Let's start with center ice. So we have a winger, centerman, winger, D, and D. If we win the draw, we're usually trying to pull the puck back, okay? So if we win the draw here, if you have open ice, you want to start moving. If their guy has jumped by our winger, then maybe you want to go D to D. It hits your stick, you start to move. But the wingers and the centermen want to hold their guy for a fraction of a second and then get open, okay? So you don't just let your guy fly by you to your D-man that just got the puck. You're going to skate into him a little bit, interfere, and then get open. Give him time to take a look and make a play. If you lose the draw, okay, so you got a winger, centerman, winger, D, D. They're lined up like this, and here's their 2D. We need to have a predetermined play whenever we lose the puck. And what I would suggest to you is your right winger. If you just say, anything in the neutral zone is our right winger. So, you lose the draw, and let's say it goes back here. This is your right winger. He's the only guy that's going to pressure, okay? He'll fly down here. If he goes D to D, he'll fly across. You tie up here, and you tie up here, okay? So the only guy that's going to pressure is the right winger, until he banks it off the wall, or he makes a play, or if he can cause a turnover, then you're going to leave your guy and join, okay? That would apply everywhere in the neutral zone. So if we have a draw here, and we're lined up winger, center, winger, D, D, and they're lined up like this, we win the draw back. Again, our right winger is the only guy going, okay? You're tying up, he can slide over and take this guy if he comes up. Where you get into trouble is when this guy goes, your centerman goes, and he goes, he makes one quick pass, and now they got open guys here to give the puck to, okay? If you lose the draw, one guy only pressure. Make sense? Okay. In the defensive zone, okay, so we're lined up. We have our centerman. Recommend putting our D-man on the wall. Other D in front. We're going to have our right winger here. And our left winger here. And they're lined up like this. If we win the draw, we're going to run what's called either a long or a short. And it all depends on what hand this player is, this defenseman. So in this particular case, if he's a left-handed shot, we're going to run a long. So we win the draw back here. As soon as he gets to the puck, he's going to fire it around the wall like this. Our left winger is immediately going here, okay? If their D comes, we should beat him at the same time. If we slow it all, we pick up the puck and we're gone, okay? Our right winger is coming out and then adjusting. Our center iceman is holding his guy up. Our D is holding his guy up, okay? So that's called the long. The short would be, as you would assume, with D, center, D, right wing, left wing, and they're lined up like this. If this is a right-handed shot, leaving the draw back, he's gonna fire the puck on his forehand this way. And then puck comes out, our right winger is going to meet it there. And his objective is to meet it at the same time as their D, and he's looking just to chip it by him. Our left winger is out to his guy and across, centerman ties up, and this D tie up. Okay? Okay, those are two plays you can run in your own end to get right out of the zone. If you end up winning the puck and you have to battle for it, you come around, that's when you get into your breakup. Okay? If you can't run one of these two, then you get into your D zone coverage, and then once you have possession, you get into your breakup. Offensively, okay? So we're lined up, we have our centerman, we have our right winger, and our left winger, we have D and D. You run one of two plays, you're either trying to pull it back, or you're gonna run a push, okay? If you come in here and you say, hey, we're gonna push it, what that means, okay, let's say that they're lined up like this, and a lot of times in adult hockey, you'll see this, like that, right? This will be a D here instead of on the wall. When we decide, you come in here and you look at your two wingers and you say, we're gonna push it. And that means instead of trying to win it back, you're gonna push this puck into the corner, push it forward. But these two guys have an advantage because they know what's gonna happen, and they're gonna jump by their guy and get right on it, okay? On any lost draw offensively, and that means on a push as well, because it's going the other direction, the defenseman, the centerman has to back out and become the high guy. You can't pursue as well, okay? So if you lose the draw or you run a push, the centerman has to back out, okay? We pull it back. We got our centerman, we have the right winger, left winger, D, and D. Okay, and they're lined up again, like this. I know, as a left winger, this guy is coming out to my D-man. So I don't need to stand next to him, because he's going nowhere, that's their defenseman. So I might just stand right over here, I just back up a little bit and get in front of him. Because I want to run interference on him to give my D time to get the shot off. We win this puck back, he's either shooting or he's going D to D. I'm tying up here. I don't want him to get by me, okay? This guy here, you can go to the net, okay? Because this guy, by the time he gets from here out, we should have either moved it D to D or got our shot off. And we want somebody crashing the net, okay? Make sense? Okay. The only other time there's anything different is when you're killing a penalty and the face-off is in your end, okay? So we have a centerman, we have a D, we have a D, and we have, let's say, a left wing, okay? And they're lined up like this. If you lose the draw and you're shorthanded in your own end, this winger comes out. The centerman no longer ties up. This is the only time he doesn't tie up. He has to fight through here. This D leaves this guy, picks him up, and this is your guy here. Okay? Good. How's our time?
I don't, you know, Jamie didn't fly back at the same time as you, I understand, so we can stay as long as we want.
Yeah, he did, actually.
Don't tell Doug Curtin that.
Well, we got in at 4:45.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll maybe take just a couple more minutes to talk about 2-on-1s or 3-on-2s, those things. Or if you have something else you want to talk about, anybody have any questions?
One-on-ones and gap control is a common problem that I've seen on my team. How much space do you give them when you? It's going to be a one-on-one because all your wingers are on the other side of the ice.
Okay.
They're coming straight at you. They have speed. You're stopped. So you start backing up. How do you manage that gap? You always want to force them out, but what's your play?
Okay. So here's the attacker and here's you.
Yep.
Okay. So the issue is, the perfect gap is about a stick length to a stick length and a half.
Also keep in mind that in adult hockey, that winger, that attacker skates significantly faster than that D skating backwards.
Right, okay? It shouldn't have any bearing on your gap.
Okay?
Where you get into trouble is if your gap is too big, and this guy already skates faster than you, what you're doing is you're giving him all kinds of ice to build speed.
Okay.
And let's say that you decided, holy cow, this guy is really fast, I'm gonna get way back here, okay? And you start skating backwards. Well, if I carry this relationship on, when he crosses the blue line, you're now in front of your goal, okay? Which is not a good thing, because now you have to stop, and you're gonna make one of two choices. You're either gonna try to skate at him, or you're just gonna stand there and block your goaltender and act as a screen, okay? So, what you wanna do is think about this. If I can have good gap, which is a stick length or a stick length and a half, if it's too big, I don't wanna slow down, I wanna start moving laterally, okay? Because as I move laterally, if he's coming this direction and I'm here, let's say I'm here, and my gap's too big, if I move this way a little bit and then move this way a little bit, the time it takes me to go from here and then back here is gonna bring him closer to me, okay? So I don't wanna go too far out, but if I start moving laterally, that gives him time to close up that gap. But what I wanna do is this. If this is him here, okay, and this is me here, okay? I want my outside shoulder in line with the middle of his chest. So I need to move over a little bit, because I always want to make the outside look more attractive than the inside. I don't want to get beat inside, because if it goes outside, then I have a chance to pick an angle, because I know where he's going, okay? If he comes down this way, there's no mystery to me where he wants to go. I already know he wants to come here. So I can take an angle somewhere along here, because he's faster than me, then I can intersect with him going to the net. If he beats me on the inside, I no longer have an angle available to me. Okay, so I always want to make the outside look more attractive. So my outside shoulder in line with the middle of his chest. Okay? Gap, honestly, if you really thought about it, as a forward, you would much prefer this than this, right? And the issue for you is you don't want to, as a defenseman, get caught in what we call an all or nothing play, okay? Where you either get it or it's a breakaway, okay? So you always want to play the percentages as a D-man. You should never get beat as a defenseman, but you always want to play the angles so that you always force him to the outside, and if he gets a shot, he's going to get a shot from a low percentage area. As a forward, attacking this D-man, what I want is bad gap, okay? So what I'm gonna do, if I'm the forward and here's the D and he's got good gap and I'm skating up, what I'm gonna do is I might slow down a little bit and allow him to cause more separation and then speed up. By varying your speed, you don't wanna slow down so much you get caught from behind, but by varying your speed, he is pumping as hard as he can because he wants to match your speed. If he's doing a good job of that, just back off a little, let him get a little further back, put him in bad gap, and then what you're ultimately looking to do is when you get into this position here as a forward and the D, if I can do what's called cut across your face, okay? If I can get you going this way and come this way, then I've got you, okay? And I'm always looking for the opportunity to come to the middle, because I know if I go outside, your advantage, the advantage goes to the D because he can angle me. If I come to the middle, I got an opportunity, okay? But you don't want to do one-on-one as a forward. If you're here and the D is here and he's got good gap, you don't want to try to beat him by putting it through his feet or anything else. What you want to do is this: chip it off the wall and just come around, because he can't stop you. If he does, it's a penalty. And so there's no reason in the world to try to beat him one-on-one if he's got good gap. If he's got bad gap, just cut across his face and go to the middle and shoot. If he's got good gap, use the boards, pick it up on the other side and go to the net. Okay? All right, 2-on-1. So we've got F1 and F2, and here's the D. I'm gonna talk about what the forward should do. If you are parallel, okay, you guys have heard me talk about this before, have the imaginary line at the top of the circle. If F1 has the puck, you need to make a play to F2 before the top of the circle if that's what your intention is. If not, F2 needs to know that as soon as you cross this imaginary line, you're pounding the puck at the net because I am now on a mission looking for a rebound. The worst thing that can happen is he hangs back, you're here, the D comes over and plays you and nothing goes to the net, or you fire it at the net and there's no one there to get a rebound because he's looking for a pass. Okay? The only other time I wouldn't do that is if F1 is here and F2 is here, and here's our D, and we've got a 2-on-1 because everyone else is back here. Okay? In this situation, I'm going to get F1 to try to back this D off, driving wide, going to the net, and I slide into this position here. So now we've got F1 and D, and here comes F2, and I'm going to lay it back on a 45-degree angle for an opportunity at the net. Okay? So that's offensive. The only two things you ought to be looking for, it's really hard to come through and make this low line pass unless the D does something really wrong. Okay? And so I'll talk to you a little bit about what the defenseman should do in this situation. Okay? So we've got F1 and F2 attacking, and you're the D. Okay? So the D wants to stay in the middle. Okay? The goaltender, let's say F1 has the puck. The goaltender has to take the shooter, 100%. He can't try to play both guys. He's got to focus on where the puck is, and he should actually yell, "I got the shooter." Okay? Now, as a defenseman backing up, you need to have an imaginary line that comes off the strong side post. So if the puck's over on this side, that's the strong side. As you start to come in, the D is going to take away the pass 100%. So our goalie can come out and challenge the shooter, but he knows that there's no way this guy is going to get a free backdoor play because you are going to take him. Okay? So you're locked on. That stays that way unless this guy reads you're taking them and he decides he's going to come in here and have a better angle for a shot. If he crosses that imaginary line, the D has to leave his guy and go take him. So we're not going to give him an opportunity to come down the throat and shoot him. So you take away the pass 100%, he shoots anywhere outside that imaginary line, it's on your goalie. He's got to play it. He comes inside that line, you got to come get him. Okay? And so it doesn't matter whether he's staggered, it doesn't change anything. Okay? You still have that imaginary line, and that's the way you play it. Okay? Back. 3-on-1, pretty self-explanatory. Okay, we got F1, F2, and F3, and we got 1D. F1 has the puck, he should be driving wide. F2 should do what?
Crash.
He should go to the net, and then F3 can come in high. And so we're looking for either to play to the guy going to the net, or to the high guy, or you're going to continue to take it to the net. As a defenseman, all you can hope for, a big win for you, is to force them to have to make a low percentage shot. And so, as a defenseman, what I want to do in this case, I stay in the middle, I try to use my stick to take away any kind of pass. If this guy comes, I got to go with him. But while he is here, every foot I can get him to go deeper is a win for me. And so what I might do is give him a little fake like that, and if he gets jarred, he checks to make sure he still has the puck, he goes from here being down here. So that buys me a little time to have more help come back, but then I also know if he's going to shoot, that it's a worse angle. So the further I can get him to hang, longer I can get him to hang on to the puck, the more of a win it is for me, because I get a worse percentage shot the further he goes. If he throws it back to this guy up high, I have to leave this guy here and come to him. Okay, because I know I'm in the shooting lane, and now I got to try and block it. It's the only thing I can do. If that guy pops out, home free, that's a 3-on-1. Okay? Any questions on any of that? The only last one I'll cover, because you guys know how to do 3-on-2s, you know the pattern, the whole works. But a 2-on-2, okay? Now, I'll just mention one thing about 3-on-2. So F1 and F2, and you get D1 and D2. What you want to do as forwards is you want to try to create a 2-on-1, okay? So you can't stay wide, you have to try to come through and split the D. Now here's one thing to look for. If the D, okay, you got F1, and you got D2 and D1, and here's F2. If the D are staggered, they're not perfectly parallel, you know 100% you can split the D, either with the puck or without the puck, okay? You can't do anything about it. So if you see D staggered, somebody's got to cut through the middle, okay? When you feed him that puck, he's in home free. So D have to work at trying to stay parallel so they don't get split. So that's one case. But if you don't have that, and we've got this situation, we're attacking, here's the 2D, here's the 2 forwards. Somebody wants to come across, okay? Change lanes, drop the puck, pick it up and go. We're going to pick one of these 2D that we're going to run a 2-on-1 on, and force him to have to make a decision. And if he comes all the way over and we're able to squirt free, this isn't a real great situation for forwards, okay, 2-on-2. But what you have to do when you find yourself in that position, you have to pick one of these two and decide. And usually, you'd have a pretty good idea out of the two who's the weaker one, and you want to force yourself to that guy, okay? D, on the other hand, if this forward, F1, is your guy, and F2 is your guy, and F1 comes up and he starts coming across, you gotta communicate. You either gotta switch, yell switch, which means he's now taking F1, and you're gonna take F2, or you gotta say, okay, I'm coming across with him, he's coming over here, and you're coming this way, okay? And so it's one or the other, but somebody's gotta call it out, okay? Because if they change lanes on you, that's what they're hoping to do, is create a little confusion. You think you've got one and he's got the other, and all of a sudden, who's got who? So the D really have to communicate, okay? The last thing I'll tell you, you know the 3-on-2, okay? Driving the net, third guy high. A lot of times, what happens is this D goes and forces this guy. It's a 3-on-2. If he shoots from there, that's great. He wants you to come, okay? You have to get out of the habit of chasing down pucks all the time, because that's the low percentage. As soon as you come, and he's going here, right? So once they're on the outside, whether it's a 3-on-2, 2-on-1, anything, let them stay out there. You don't need to force them, okay? You only get in trouble when you go out and try to do that, and they make the player back to where you should have been, okay? So just leave those guys outside. Are we good?
I think so.
Any questions on anything?
Everybody still awake?
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
Or it's a little chilly.
Air test.
Back to that the 2-on-2 in the neutral zone. We
Yeah.
were talking about the D either switching or staying on, crossing back and forth. Is there one that tends to work better than the other? Because it seems like if you're switching, you got the forwards moving plus both D moving, it's just a lot of moving parts to go wrong with that.
Most of the time, you're gonna switch, but sometimes someone has good gap and someone has bad gap, okay? So sometimes you get a situation where F1, here's D1 and here's D2. If you come across and you switch, you may put D2 into a bad gap situation, right? So you might say, okay, listen, here's F2 back here. Let's go ahead and just stay with him. You come across, and I'll slide in behind you here and pick up this guy, okay? So it all depends on your read And if you think that the best, because there's no real cut and dried rules, because every situation, the way it comes at you, you have to read it and make that call. And that's one of the things that, as you begin to play more and more hockey, you have to just really understand how to read the play. And as it's coming at you, you gotta understand, do I have a 2-on-1, do I have a 3-on-2? Is it something late developing? Because as a defenseman, you make the wrong call, you're sending someone in home free. And so that's why defensemen really have to be students of the game and really understand what's attacking at all times. Good.
And what's, I don't know, kind of off what we talked about, but I know the start of the season when I was playing D, there were a couple situations where I maybe left my feet, whether it was going down to block a pass or a shot, or I was chasing some guy into the zone, trying to stick lift. What is, for leaving your feet, I mean, is it always bad, or?
The rule I found that I always used with the D was never leave your feet shorthanded. Okay? But there are other coaches that do teach that for that down low play in front of the net. They tell guys to lay out so that that seam pass can't come across. But I've always found that as soon as you leave your feet, if what you thought was gonna happen doesn't, now you're dead, right?
Yeah.
And so it again puts you into one of those all or nothing situations. If you're even strength and you got layers of defense, sometimes you can leave your feet. But if you leave your feet shorthanded, you really put yourself in a position. All right?
Cool.
Cool.
Any more questions? No?
Good.
Good. If anybody's curious about the pond hockey league, that's what's being played over on the small ice right now. It's interesting to watch, it's even more interesting to experience.